Hello, good afternoon to everybody. And as usual, you are all welcome to Historical Reflection. And we are actually discussing about different wars and their impact on specific area. And today we are talking about the effect of the wars on the Indian subcontinent. Now, somebody actually said that if there is no struggle, then there is no strength, and that is very much applicable to war like conditions. And the wars, definitely, you and me, we are all common people and we really don't appreciate war. But sometimes this is inevitable to have war because as intelligentsia think who discuss about war, that war brings progress, war brings innovation, and sometimes war become inevitable. And we are discussing the last stand of Kosala, the war between Ajatashatru and Prasenjit. Both these kings were really, really great at their position, and they have contributed in the upliftment of governance, in the upliftment of people in their area. And that is why both Ajatashatru, as you know, he was an expansionist, but at the same time, Prasenjit, who has contributed in the rise of Buddhism in the world. At the same time, he was very closely associated with Gautam Buddha at that point of time. So the war between Magad and Kaushal, and the war of Magad and Kaushal is very defining conflict in the ancient Indian history, marking the critical moment in the power struggle between two kingdoms of 5th century. And this war was primarily a battle of supremacy between Ajatashatru and he was ambitious ruler of Magad, and with King Prasenjit, who was a seasoned leader of Kosala. So the rivalry actually between these two rulers would actually determine the fate of northern India, and these two rulers would actually really there was as I have already told you, the status and dominant power, both were a dominant power of that era. So why the Kaushal and Magad were into a tussle? Let's find out about the background of this conflict. So let's discuss about Kaushal. And Kaushal under King Prasenjit was one of the most powerful kingdom of the time, controlling vast region, including the sacred city of Ayodhya. This Ayodhya city is very much in news currently. And however, the Magad ruled by aggressive and expansionist Ajatashatru, and who really wanted expansion. He wanted to establish a powerful. He wanted to dominate that area, and so he wanted to control the other area, the Ganga plains, and tension between the two kingdom actually brewing for years, and by political and through many aspects. Some are political maneuver, some are territorial dispute, and some are actually sometimes diplomatic breakdown. So these all actually became a background of this important conflict. One of the key triggers of the war was a marital alliance between the two states. King Prasenjit, who was given his sister in marriage to Ajatashatru's father Bimbisara as a symbol of peace. However, Ajatashatru, after imprisoning the Bimbisara, and that actually caused the death of Bimbisara, that whole episode actually turned against the Kaushal state, and this betrayal which actually saw the seeds of mistrust, and soon these kingdom were on war after Bimbisara's death. The war and its how all this war emerged, and what was the climatic condition of the war. So let's discuss that. Initially, King Prasenjit attempted to hold his ground against Magad, and his army was very well equipped. he was himself was a great commander. The Kaushal had historically been formidable power, and but Magad was above Kaushal, and Magad has also done some military innovation, such as use of war chariot, fortified weapon that gave an edge to Ajatashatru in not only with Kaushal war in the with the Kaushal, but other historical war which Ajatashatru fought. So using using his all his launching attack and pushing using his all techniques of warfare, and he actually put Kaushal into a very defensive position. The final confrontation, and which is actually the Kaushal really tried quite emphatically, but that became a last stand of Kaushal before this war was the last stand for Kaushal before actually included this after the war it was included into Magadha. Though Kaushal fought really fiercely with Prasenjit, making the last desperate attempt and preserve the kingdom, but Kaushal had drained out all the resources and manpower before and after and between this war. So Ajatashatru was forces eventually actually overrun the Kaushal effort and leading to decisive fall of King Prasenjit, and the defeated ruler fled to the monastery where he tragically died in exile. So exile actually started little ahead of this war, and so that it is very important to discuss his exile also in the war. So let us discuss that. So King Prasenjit was also was a great leader, as I have already mentioned. In the 5th century, he was well educated. He studied in Takshila, which was a very prominent university, and he actually maintained a strong political alliances, including his alliances with Magad, and these are diplomatic alliances, and where his sister Kaushala Devi was married to King Bimbisar. And he was also very devoted follower of Gautam Buddha, and he played a crucial role in spreading Buddhism and constructing monasteries, maintaining close ties with the Buddha himself. So, but his whole kingdom and his time actually saw a political turbulence, including conflict within with neighboring kingdoms and internal struggle. So unfortunately, his rule ended tragically. Somehow it is said before the war, or he was somehow was participating in the war, but when his son Vidhur Baba actually turned against him and forced Prasenjit into exile, and where he ultimately, and that was also one of the region of Kaushal's downfall, and he died at Rajgiraha in exile. So a little bit more about Prasenjit. He was prominent when we discuss the Buddhist texts. His mention is very prominently been described in that, and his contribution to religious growth. In fact, his wife Queen Mallika also influenced his devotion to the Buddhism and Buddhist teaching. He remained an important figure in Indian history, recognized for his contribution in governance, in religion, and diplomacy. So, let's us discuss the aftermath of this war, which is very important war in the rise of Ajatashatru and creating the great empires later on in the years to come. So aftermath and legacy of this war is, after the collapse of Kaushal, it gave way to Magadha to uncontested domination on especially northern India, and this Ajatashatru unified a vast territory. He was already an expansionist, and under his rule he set up the rise of Magadha, which eventually became a very, very powerful kingdom in northern India, and that legacy that will actually later on contributed to the establishment of great empires to come. And Mauryan Empire is one of that. Now, this war was not just a territorial conquest, but it is a shift in a political power, and that shaped the course of Indian history. So, what is the significance we have been discussing, but a little more for everybody to understand that significance. So, first significance of this war is definitely rise of Magadha supremacy. And decline of Kaushal, and Magadha actually became a very, very powerful power. And Ajatashatru's victory allowed Magadha to expand in influence, setting up the all stages transformation as a kingdom into a great empire. Then, of course, the end of Kaushal independence, which eventually actually that was a downfall. But though Kaushal had played a very crucial role in Indian history because it itself is a very powerful kingdom, but due to political unsettlement, they got this defeat. And the third is strategic expansion of Magadha by Ajatashatru. So we have been discussing Ajatashatru in a past episode also, but this also actually created a great base for Ajatashatru's expansion and the political stability in years to come. His military campaign included the war against Vijika League, held by consolidation of Magadha territory, and that became a really formidable kingdom of its time. Then there was military innovation. So this war actually saw a military innovation. Ajatashatru used advancement of war machine such as Mahashila Kantaka, that is stone throwing catapult, and the Rath Musla, which is chariot with a blade, and that demonstrated military military power to rest of the kingdom where he waged the war. These innovations played a very crucial role in his victory. Then there was also a political and diplomatic consequences. The war also had a very deep-rooted diplomatic repercussion. Ajatashatru was aggressive, he was expansionist, and he forced all his kingdom, beside Kaushal, to consider and reconsider the alliances and strategies. And victory on Kaushal actually solidified his ruthless but yet strategic ruler dominance. The foundation of Mauryan Empire, because that is also part of the impact of this war, and somehow Ajatashatru's conquest actually laid the groundwork of Mauryan Empire. His military and administrative strategies influenced rulers like Chandragupta Maurya. And the battle against Ajatashatru and Prasenjit was more of a dominance, more of it was a turning point in Indian history, shaping the trajectory of Magadha Empire. Even after Mauryan Empire establishment in a political dynamics, and as well as in the whole of Indian subcontinent. So we had been discussing Ajatashatru. So a little bit about those are the points. What are the points which led the rise of Ajatashatru? So we have already discussed about Prasenjit and in the context of this war. So how he came to the power, as we have discussed earlier also, and I'm just repeating that he overthrew his father Bimbisara, and he became Magadha the king by force. Despite being groomed as leader, he forcefully seized this power, and his expansionist policies also contributed his psyche to do expansion of his kingdom, and either by conquering or by diplomatic alliances, or by any kind of military, small or big campaigns which he has done. War against Kaushala is also one of the milestone in his dominance, in his establishment of the empire, as for him as an individual ruler and a general also, that also contributed. And there was a conquest of Vaishali, which we have done earlier. He actually he defeated Lichavis, which were again a very powerful dynasty and through his military alliances and war machine. The fortification of Patliputra, which is a very important aspect of his kingdom. He transformed a small village into a fortified city of Patliputra, which later on, even today, it's one of the learning center and later became the capital of Mauryan Empire. So the military innovation we have already done. New technologies he used into the warfare. That is Mahashila Kantika, which is throwing catapult and used of massive stone at enemies' fortification. Then also Rath Musala, which was a chariot with a blade, a deadly war chariot, actually designed to cut through the enemy ranks. So that was a major contributor into the rise of Ajatashatru. The strategic alliances and diplomacy, which definitely. So it is not actually. Call Ajatashatru only a military general, but he was also very strategic thinker. He was a ruler in true sense. Despite his ruthless approach, Ajatashatru was a skilled diplomat. He maintained relations with influential figures, including Gautam Buddha, who later on he actually appreciated. He had a deep-rooted respect for Gautam Buddha, and his ability to balance warfare with diplomacy and help in stabilizing his rule, consolidating his kingdom is, I think, is a great points in his personality. Then establishment of Magad as a superpower, I think that must have been a dream of Ajatashatru. Through his conquest and governance, Ajatashatru transformed Magad into the most powerful kingdom in northern India at those times. His legacy actually will remain. It actually given way to further future actually dynasty to dominate and to become more powerful after Ajatashatru victory on certain kingdoms and consolidating his kingdom. So Ajatashatru's rise was marked by ruthless strategic brilliance and visionary leadership. So, and the foundation of transforming Magad into a golden ages and transferring the whole system into a great empires, not only of Ajatashatru, but further many big empires actually taking the points, taking the governance, taking the diplomacy, which was established by Ajatashatru. So today we have discussed about the fall of Kaushal, which was again a very important state, but eventually it contributed into the rise of Magad Empire and creating this Magad Empire a center of learning, a center of trade and cultural awareness. So this is something which I want to discuss. If you have any points to add to this discussion, we'll be more happy to actually read that and also share with our audience. So see you in another episode of war and how these war got impact. They created an impact on Indian subcontinent. So till next time, bye bye. You take care.